2008, a coup on the ballot. 2017, a coup on the elected leader. 2018, a coup on the ballot. He has repeated again, 2023, a coup on the ballot. You can't survive this for far too many times. This time, no further. We've drawn a line in the sand. We will not allow you to abuse people. You are not the last Zimbabwean. You are not the only Zimbabwean. We are all Zimbabweans. We all count. We all matter. And we will make sure we take our stand and we defend democracy. Of course, as I have said, the next steps in the light of the above, it is clear that we are rejecting the election as a sham, the result. The process itself, we disregard it, and it's in line with what the SADC observers have said. We reject this sham result and flawed process based on the disputed figures. We have our V11s. I'd asked our teams to bring those V11s. I'm not so sure if they're here so that you would see them. We have brought V11s from across the whole country, and those V11s are going to be the basis of our assertion. We have won this election in the lead. We are even surprised why Mr. Mnangagwa has been declared, the leader, because he's not. From the V11s we have, we are ahead. But if you look at the V23, Mr. Mnangagwa mysteriously and miraculously then declares a 52%, which is not backed by facts. Even if you look at other candidates who have then been given votes, it's because it has been engineered elsewhere. It's iron data, doctored data, man-made data that is not reflecting the reality of what the people have said on the ground. As far as we are concerned, a credible election must be declared and honored. A legitimate government and a legitimate president for everyone must be put in place.
Now, therefore, I, Priscilla Makanyara Chigumba, the chairperson of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, in terms of Section 110, subsection 3, do hereby declare that Mnangagwa Emmerson Mnangagwa of ZANU-PF Party has received 2,350,711 votes out of 4,468,730 valid votes cast, which are more than half the number of valid votes cast in the presidential election. Therefore, Mnangagwa Emmerson Mnangagwa of ZANU-PF Party is declared duly elected President of the Republic of Zimbabwe with effect from 26 August 2023.
There has been mixed reaction to the results. For more, we are now joined by Hopewell Chinono, a writer and a journalist in Zimbabwe. Hopewell, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. So, Mnangagwa has earned his second term. What's been the reaction on the ground, and more specifically of the main opposition, the Citizens Coalition for Change, that has now rejected these results?
Well, President Mnangagwa has grabbed a second term, not end it, because the election was shambolic. It was characterized by a lot of irregularities, as explained much earlier in your reports. The opposition correctly disagrees with the election results, and they've got good reason for doing so, because even SADC, for the first time, has come out against the election process in Zimbabwe, something that has never happened. You had people who went to the polling station at 6 a.m. hoping that it would open at 7, which is the official time. They were there 12 hours later. There were no polling material. There were no ballot papers. You had people, especially in rural areas, that went to polling stations. Their IDs were demanded by an outfit called FAS, which works with Secret Service and is in alliance with ZANU-PF. And they were asked to provide their names and ID numbers, and they were told that we will know who you would have voted for. And I think the most tragic thing at the moment is that the ruling party in South Africa, ANC, is cheering on this shambolic election, with its Secretary General Fikile Mbalula spending the better part of yesterday and today chanting slogans in favor of ZANU-PF. And yet he forgets, and the ANC forgets, that a shambolic election in Zimbabwe creates an economic crisis which has been ongoing, and it makes it worse. And millions of Zimbabweans are going to be voting with their feet, coming to Johannesburg, coming to Cape Town, and creating an environment which is explosive with local communities in that country.
So we heard from President Mnangagwa, obviously, during his victory speech, saying that those who reject the election results must follow the proper channels, the right processes that do exist. We know that Nelson Chamisa is going to be holding a press briefing in an hour or so. What avenues are they likely to take, you know, given the criticism just leveled at the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission by the election observer missions and other concerns about whether or not the judiciary, should they go that way, is indeed independent enough?
The problem that we've had in Zimbabwe was well captured in the SADC report, that the judiciary is captured by the executive. And as Xavier Kasukuwere said earlier, a lot of Zimbabweans do not have faith in the judiciary. It is the same judiciary that has allowed Xavier Kasukuwere not to participate in the election. It is the same judiciary that the opposition went to in 2018, and again it ruled in favor of President Mnangagwa. It is the same judiciary that has been used to persecute journalists that expose corruption, politicians that oppose corrupt rule, and critics of the government. So there's no faith at all. If the opposition is going to go to courts, it's just to have it on the record, but they should not expect any positive result from the courts.
Let's bring in then what Xavier Kasukuwere said earlier in that interview. I mean, as you rightfully say, he was disqualified by the High Court. Now he's saying that he will approach the SADC Troika and will use the SADC Commission's report to call for interventions. Do you think this will work?
I don't think it will work, because the biggest economy in SADC is South Africa, and the ruling party in South Africa, as I said earlier, is cheering on this shambolic election. We have seen Fikile Mbalula, who is the Secretary General of the ruling party of South Africa, ANC, calling the opposition leader and a participant in this election, Nelson Chamisa, a Western puppet and an American puppet. So I have no faith, and many Zimbabweans correctly so have no faith in the processes. But it is his right to go to these institutions and try and seek, some kind of audience with them, hoping that perhaps there might be a miracle. Who knows?
I mean, Zimbabwe has been experiencing, economic crisis for several years now. You've invested a lot of your time just investigating how the country's economic policies have failed Zimbabweans. Just walk us through, how the country can make those significant economic changes in the next 5 years, still under this administration.
Well, this administration has created a chaotic environment for business, an environment that is difficult to do business. This government has also failed to implement policies that are friendly not just to local businesses, but even to international businesses. And it's not because it has rigged elections that it has failed to run the economy. It is because it runs a corrupt administration. It is one of the most corrupt governments in the world. To give you a good example, $150 million worth of gold is smuggled out of Zimbabwe every month. That is the equivalent to an amount of money that can be used to run all central hospitals in Zimbabwe for 3 years. So if President Mnangagwa and his government want change, if they decide to have a miraculous point of departure and say they want things to change in Zimbabwe, they could do so if they want. But I don't think they will. They've never shown any appetite to do so. The whole country does not have a single working radiotherapy cancer machine. The whole country does not have a bypass machine. So if people get unwell, they die. 2,500 women die every year giving birth in Zimbabwe. That's why you have 75% of women giving birth at Musina Hospital in South Africa coming from Zimbabwe. It's because they are running away from the fear of dying whilst giving birth. So I don't have any confidence in this administration, but we wait to see. Time will tell.